Welcome to the first ever Rantables Wrestling Podcast. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while. I just haven't actually gotten the gumption up to do it. But I figure that now is as good a time as any to start, because why the hell not? So for today's inaugural podcast, or audio blog, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to be covering the upcoming CHIKARA events that are actually this weekend, and one of them starting in about 2.5 hours, so I need to crank this out pretty quickly. So for those of you who have been following the text blog for the past however long, essentially CHIKARA is basically my favorite promotion in North America right now, and their shows this weekend are the first annual Chikarasaurus Rex, which last year featured both CHIKARA members and wrestlers from, I believe it was Dragon Gate, also maybe some Osaka Pro guys, but I think mostly guys from Dragon Gate, and it was a fantastic show. And this year they are bringing in some more Japanese talent, but this time they're bringing in some women from the Ice Ribbon promotion, which I haven't seen too much of, but I have seen a few clips on YouTube, and it's pretty entertaining stuff. So, with that being said, let's dive right into the show that is on July 30th, 2011, which is today, which is in Reading, Pennsylvania. And this is the first night of Chikarasaurus Rex, King of Sequel. By the way, I love the event names for every show. They have such awesome event names. Anyway, I'm going to go down the card and just kind of look through it, see, just give a quick synopsis, and then give my pick as to who I think I was going to win. So, let's start with the 6-woman tag match between Mima Shimoda, Portia Perez, and Tsukasa Fujimoto, taking on Sarah Del Rey, Daisy Hayes, and Makoto. Now, admittedly, I only really know much about Sarah and Daisy, but if you've seen them work at all, you know that they're both spectacular workers. And Shimoda, Fujimoto, and Makoto are all from Ice Ribbon. And Portia Perez is, I think she's well known in Shimmer. So again, I haven't really seen very much of any of them, but I would have to imagine that any wrestler from Japan is going to be pretty darn good. And Portia Perez is being touted as one of the best women's wrestlers in the world, so I would imagine that if she's put in a match with Sarah and Daisy, that she's going to be pretty good. She can go. So this should be a pretty darn good match. I don't know if it's going to open the show. It's at the bottom of the list for the Chikarasaurus Rex match list, but I'm certain it's not going to be the worst match by any stretch of the imagination. It should be a lot of fun, I would imagine, since we don't really get too many women's tag matches in CHIKARA, since they only really employ 2 or 3 women for extended periods of time, and that's Daisy and Sarah, and also a couple other women, but not as often. So it's nice to get a women's tag match of some actual quality, as opposed to some of the stuff you see in some of the other promotions. But anyway, usually when I don't know most of the participants in a match, I will just end up going with the team that I know more people who are competing with in. I know that didn't make much sense, but I'm going to go with the Sarah, Daisy, and Makoto team, because I've heard of Sarah Del Rey and Daisy Hayes. Anyway. Next up, we have Eddie Kingston taking on the 2010 Wrestling Observer Rookie of the Year, Adam Cole. And I will admit that I have not seen too much of Cole. I did see him, I believe he was on ROH's Honor Takes Center Stage show, which was the same weekend as WrestleMania 27. I believe he was in both nights of that, and he was pretty good, from what I recall. Eddie Kingston, I'll admit that his 2011 has not been as great as his 2010 season. He's had a few good matches, but it just hasn't quite been as strong overall as 2010 was, just considering the caliber of his opponents last year as compared to the opponents this year. I guess maybe that's one of the reasons why he's not. His year hasn't been quite as good as last year's, but still he's having a good year, and he's certainly well on his way to. I think he's going to make it to the finals of the Chikara World Championship match, which is set I think in November, I believe, at the season finale. But at this point, I think pretty much any match that isn't a 12 large summit match for Eddie Kingston is basically just a warm up. So kudos to Adam Cole for taking on this challenge, but I don't think he has a chance at winning. I'm taking Eddie Kingston to win this one. Next up, we have probably one of my favorite trios that I've ever seen. That was first seen at King of Trios this year in April, and that is the team of Scott Parker, Shane Matthews, and probably one of my top 3 or 5 wrestlers in the world today, El Generico, as Team 3.0 taking on Team Fist, Icarus, Johnny Gargano, and Chuck Taylor. I'm sure Fist is still kind of I don't know. I would say that they're probably trying to get back on the winning side of things after last month when they I don't know if I forget if they lost every match. Let me see. No, they didn't. Okay, so they I'm just checking here. I'm checking the stats as I'm broadcasting, so I apologize if there are any. No, I'm going to try not to be too silent. Okay, so actually they did win a fair amount of their matches. Like Chuck Taylor and Johnny Gargano won both of their tag matches in June, but the team as a trio lost on June 26th. So right now they're technically on a losing streak, and I'm sure Icarus is wanting to get another win after losing both of his singles matches. I forgot about that. He lost both of his singles matches to Sarah Del Rey and Gregory Iron last month. So I'm sure he's itching for a win. However, I really don't want to pick against Team 3.0 just because I like them so much. Just because 3.0 is one of the funniest and most entertaining tag teams in the world, and El Generico is just flat out one of the best wrestlers in the world today. So I've got a conflict of interests. On the one hand, Fist is definitely one of the best trios in the world. On the other hand, I really like 3.0. So I'm going to go with my brain over my heart. I'm going to pick Fist, but I really would like to see 3.0 win because I'd love to see them tagging more in the future, and I would certainly like to see El Generico back in Chikara more, since he had such a stellar showing both in January against Eddie Kingston, which is one of my favorite matches of the year, and also his showing at King of Trios, where he not only competed with 3.0, but he also won the 2011 Rey de Voladores over 1-2-3 Kid of all people. And that was another stellar match, one of the potential match of the year candidates, in my opinion. So I'd love to see El Generico in Chikara more often. I'd love to see him do more single stuff, but I'm certainly happy to see him with Team 3.0. So I'm picking Fist to win, but I certainly would rather see 3.0 win. Next up, we have one of the main attractions of the weekend, and this is a British style, Lancashire style, I believe it's called, match between Johnny Saint and Johnny Kidd. Now, I'm sure that anyone who's listening to this has never heard of either of these guys, and admittedly, up until about a year and a half ago, I hadn't heard of either of these guys either. In fact, I hadn't heard of Johnny Kidd until I heard he was announced as being part of this weekend. But just in case you haven't seen any of this style of wrestling, I highly recommend that you go to YouTube or any other video watching service, whatever you want to call it. Type in Johnny Saint and just watch anything, any match at all. It's a fascinating style that it's unlike any of the other stuff, unlike any of their mainstream stuff out there. It's completely different than American style heavyweight wrestling. It's completely different than lucha libre. It's completely different than Japanese puro. It's a truly fascinating style, and I know I used that word earlier, but it's a lot more cerebral than any of the other styles out there, and I enjoy it, but only in small doses because it's very, very intense and requires a lot of concentration. But it's still very entertaining, and Johnny Saint is one of the best ever. And I think he's in his mid to late 60s, I believe. And I think Chikara managed to coax him out of retirement yet again, since they coaxed him out of retirement to come and wrestle at King of Trios 2009, which I've only seen a bit of, but I did see his the opening round match with him competing with who was it? I believe it was with Mike Quackenbush and Jorge Rivera or Skade. And he was, I think he was 65 or 66 or something like that back then. He's still just as entertaining. He was more entertaining than 90% of the guys on the WWE roster, or the TNA roster for that matter. Johnny Kidd I don't know very much about, but these guys are apparently going to go, or it's scheduled as 6 rounds of 5 minutes each. And from what I've seen in the on YouTube, this will probably go to a best 2 out of 3 falls, a pinfall submission, or one knockout will win it. So this should be an excellent wrestling match, not like the stuff you watch on the USA Network or Sci-Fi or Spike TV. This stuff is going to be good, and even though these guys are in their 50s or 60s, they're still just as good as they were 20, 30 years ago. So I'm looking forward to this match a lot. Let's see. Next up, we have Green Ant taking on Tursus. And if you haven't been keeping up with Chikara, they've been having some videos with Green Ant traveling around the country in the Flex Express, which is, of course, a really funny takeoff of the Lex Express. And, of course, for those of you who've seen it, Lex Luger is a giant, hulking, massive muscle, whereas Green Ant's this, wiry 160-pound guy who apparently gained super strength when he got his left arm surgically repaired last year after he got it broken at Young Lions Cup. So apparently the steel plate in his arm has given him super strength and the same exact power that Lex Luger had back in the early 90s. So he's going to take on the 375-pound, 6'6", 6'8" Tursus, the Finnish Viking, and I think everyone's really hoping for Green Ant to. Oh, I didn't actually give you a prediction on the Saint versus Kid match. Who's to go in? I'm probably going to go with Johnny Saint just because I think I don't think they would allow him to lose at this point in his career. So yeah, I'm picking Saint. So for the Green Ant versus Tursus match, anyway, getting back to that, Tursus really has been one of the most dominant characters in Chikara. He and Brody Lee, who are probably the two most unstoppable guys, but Brody Lee's out with an injury. And really, Tursus has only had a couple of falterings in the last year and a half, and those pretty much just to Eddie Kingston. So, does Green Ant have a chance? Sure, he has a chance. That's why I left Chikara, because even the small guys taking on the giant mammoth guys have a chance at winning. Is he gonna win? I don't know. I mean, Green Ant has certainly he's certainly risen in popularity a lot over the last year. But there are times when I just don't know if you can overcome the odds. Oh, excuse me. If you can overcome the odds of a 375-pound Finnish Viking character. This program might have legs, and I think, or this feud might have some legs. So, I think for the initial offering, I think I'm gonna pick Tursus to win. Also because he's got members of the BDK behind him. So, even though Green Ant does have the Colony with him, I'm thinking that there's going to be some shenanigans, and Tursus is going to pull off a victory somehow. Yeah. So we've got the last 2 matches of the card are both 12 Large Summit matches. The first one is the returning Jigsaw taking on Fire Ant. Jigsaw's been out for a couple of months with, I forget what kind of injury. I think it's an arm injury, but he's been gone for a couple of months. And in that time, not only has he not had any 12 Large Summit matches, but he has not been able to defend the tag team titles, or the Campeonatos de Parejas, as they call it, because Chikara is eccentric like that. I think this is going to be a pretty good overall match. A lot of high flying, a lot of energy between these two. I guess we'll find out whether or not Jigsaw's in any ring rust, since he has been gone for a few months. Fire Ant is, let's see, what did he do last time? I think he lost his 12 Large Summit match last month, but I'm looking right now just to see. Yes, he did lose to Ultramantis Black last month. I'm not yawning because I'm tired. Or maybe I don't know. Anyway, Fire Ant has lost his, I believe that was his first match. So he's going to need a victory, but this is Jigsaw's first match, so I'm sure he'd like a victory to get rolling in the 12 Large Summit. Who's going to win this match? That's a tough one. These guys are pretty evenly matched. Both of them are quick. Both of them have an extensive arsenal of moves. Both of them are fan favorites, so it's really just a pick 'em at this point, I think. They both have their tag team accolades. Jigsaw is one half of the Campeones de Parejas, and Fire Ant is 1/3 of the King of Trios. So I guess it just boils down as to which one is going to better singles wrestler, and I think Jigsaw is going to pull it off in the end, just because I think he's had more singles success than Fire Ant. So perhaps he will pull it off, but it's really a pick 'em at this point. I'm really not sure. I'll just pick Jigsaw for the heck of it. And let's see, the last match of the Saturday show and the last match of the 12 Large Summit for that day is Lightning Mike Quackenbush taking on Claudio Castagnoli. Now, if you haven't seen these two wrestle before, oh boy, and you're going to see this, then you're certainly going to be in for a treat, because these two have a long-standing history, probably dating back 5 or 6 years, probably more. I don't know. For those of you who enjoy the kind of the behind-the-scenes action, these two are the head trainers of the Chikara Wrestle Factory, and they've really known each other for a long time. And honestly, this should be really a special match. I remember a couple of weeks ago I watched a match between these two that was several years ago. I think it was in IWA Mid-South. I'm not sure. It had a really shitty ring, so I'm guessing it was IWA Mid-South. And they really tore the house down. It was really an excellent match, and it ended with probably one of the coolest finishers I've ever seen, which I'm not quite sure how to describe it, but it was just a really crazy Canadian Destroyer kind of move. I'm sure you can look it up on YouTube. It's probably under like greatest finisher ever or something. It's really a really impressive finish, and these two really are two of the best in the world right now. Quackenbush gets my vote for best wrestler so far this year. It's because he hasn't had a bad match, and several of his matches have just been top notch. Like his match against Ophidian last month and his match against Hallowicked the month before. Both of them were 12 Large Summit matches, and both of them were absolutely spectacular. So I'm expecting nothing less than that from both of these guys. Who wins? I want to see Quackenbush win, but really, I've already explained on the blog that I'm expecting the finals of the 12 Large Summit to be Castagnoli versus Kingston. So I'm going to pick Claudio Castagnoli to win, but this is still going to be an awesome match. So that was the July 30th Chikarasaurus Rex, King of Sequel, and let's move on to Sunday's show, which is at the Asylum Arena in Philadelphia, and it's also got 7 matches on the card. I think it's 7. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, 7 matches. Okay, let's just dive right in. So the first match that's listed is two of the women who were in the six woman tag match on Saturday. That's Tsukasa Fujimoto against Makoto. Two, I guess they're current stars of Ice Ribbon. Again, don't really know too much about the promotion, but what I have seen on YouTube I've enjoyed, but it's mostly because it's kind of just fun-loving and silly from what I've seen. But so if these two are going to have kind of that match, I'm cool with it. If they're going to have a more knockdown drag-out fight, I'm also cool with that. Doesn't really matter. It should be a good match no matter what. I guess just because I don't really know too much about it, I'm going to pick Tsukasa Fujimoto to win, just because I picked Makoto to win the night before. I really don't know. Okay, let's move on. It should be a good match, though. Moving on, we got Dasher Hatfield versus Archibald Peck. We've got... these are two of my favorite characters in the entire promotion. Not sure where Sugar Dunkerton is, but at least we're getting Dasher. And Archibald Peck has been... He could get my vote for Rookie of the Year right now. It's because he's had some good matches, and he's proven himself on the mic, and he's also been on commentary. I think he was only on one commentary match during King of Trios this year, but he's definitely proving himself every time he's in the ring or on the mic or anywhere. So I think he's got a really bright future. You just have to make sure that he can just keep moving up. And I believe he's also scheduled to take place in the Young Lions Cup tournament this year. So that's definitely going to give him even more exposure, more praise. So, I think with him participating in the Young Lions Cup this year, I think this match versus Dasher Hatfield is just kind of a warm-up for him. And no offense to Dasher, because he's certainly proven himself to be a great performer over the last year and a half, 2 years, however long he's been around. But I think this match is going to go the way of Archibald Peck of the band. So that's pretty much that, and I look forward to seeing Peck at Young Lions Cup next month. Okay, next match we have Mima Shimoda taking on Daisy Hayes, and I don't know anything about Mima Shimoda, and I really feel bad about that because I really should know more about the people who are competing in this promotion. But yeah. So Daisy's been gone for a couple of months from Chikara anyway, and I don't know where she's been, but I'm sure she's been doing stuff that's important to her. Anyway, yeah, I really wish I could talk about this match more, but I really don't know enough about Mima Shimoda to really give a good analysis of her. So I'm just going to pick her to win because I picked her to lose on Saturday. So let's move on to the trios match of the evening, and that would be Team 3.0 Lay coming back for another night. Thank you. Taking on the Spectral Envoy of Ultramantis Black, Hallowicked, and the Young Lions Cup champion Frightmare, who is going to be only the second person to ever hold the Young Lions Cup for an entire year, following Jigsaw. I believe he won that. He did that a few years back, and I think Frightmare deserves it. So 3.0 Lay, I don't know. I don't know if 3.0 has history with Ultramantis or Incoherence, but I don't really care that much because I know this is going to be just another off-the-chain awesome match, mostly because it has 3.0 Lay and the Spectral Envoy, and it doesn't really matter if there's any storyline behind it. It's just going to be an awesome match. I think the Spectral Envoy is going to win just because they've kind of been quiet. It's just kind of been quiet over the last few months, and I don't really think that the storyline between them and the Dark Army has gone quite the way that the writers were hoping it would go. So I think that they need some more build up because unless they're really going for kind of a slow build in this thing, but I certainly think that that particular feud still has legs, and I would like to see it resolved. Not necessarily within the next few months or by the end of the season, but I certainly would like to see that feud pick up some steam again. And I think the Spectral Envoy needs some motivation, I guess, or something. You know what? I'm going to change it. Because I need motivation to keep going. So I'm going to pick 3.0 Lay, just because I like them too much to pick them to lose both nights. Okay, moving on to the what will probably be one of the most unique matches of the year, or really ever. We're getting a tag team match. Johnny Saint and Mike Quackenbush teaming up to take on Colt Cabana and Johnny Kidd. Yeah. I'm glad to see Colt Cabana returning to Chikara on a semi-regular basis, I guess you could say. And I'm sure that both he and Quackenbush are honored to be teaming up with Kidd and Saint, respectively. Colt is kind of one of those. He's kind of one of those anomalies in wrestling, in that he's really like the only guy in America, at least that I know of, who really wants to kind of emulate the British style of wrestling that Saint and Kidd personify. And he's unique in that sense. Quackenbush is one of those guys who can adapt to any style. So he should fit right in. This should be a really fascinating match, honestly. All four of these guys are supremely talented. All four of these guys can go for however long. Doesn't matter. All four of these guys could put on a great show. So I'm kind of hoping this is going to be the match that closes out the show. But if it doesn't, I'm okay with it, but I'd rather see it finish the show, just because I think Johnny Saint and Johnny Kidd deserve to leave America or leave this weekend with a main event show. As to who's going to win, again, like I said, I don't know if I can't see Johnny Saint losing at this point. And Cabana, I don't think he's won a match in Chikara this year. I wouldn't mind if that changed, but I don't think it's going to happen on Sunday. So I'm going to pick Johnny Saint and Mike Quackenbush to win. But then again, it really could be a pick'em at this point. All right, we got two more 12 Large Summit matches to go, and then that's Chikarasaurus Rex for you. So the first match listed is Eddie Kingston taking on Jigsaw, and did I pick Jigsaw to win? I can't even remember what I picked earlier. I think I picked Jigsaw to win, didn't I? Yeah, probably. Anyway, it's not going to matter. I like Jigsaw, but really, I don't see anyone stopping Eddie Kingston on the way to the Chikara World Championship. So it's going to be a great match, no doubt. But really, in the end, Eddie Kingston's going to win. And the final match listed for this weekend is a very interesting matchup. It's Claudio Castagnoli taking on his BDK stablemate Sarah Del Rey. Now, if anyone has seen the most recent Video des Kreuzes on YouTube, which I'm sure you can find, or just look up VDK or whatever you want, Sarah kind of put out a little challenge towards Claudio, and it kind of gives you the impression that maybe she's thinking about splitting off and leaving the BDK, or maybe it's all just a ruse. I don't know, but you can definitely tell that there's some kind of tension between the two, and it should make for a very interesting match, since about this time last year, I think people were thinking that the BDK was starting to splinter and fall apart, but it's still around a year later. So maybe this time, maybe this could be the beginning of the end for the BDK, which is unfortunate in some sense because they've been such a powerful faction over the last year and a half that I kind of don't want to see them go. I kind of want to see them stick around for a while longer, but nothing lasts forever in the world of wrestling. So maybe this is the beginning of the end for them. This might be, yeah, this could be something that just kind of starts to splinter the factions, and maybe Sarah will try and take half of the team with her, and maybe, they might feud with each other. Who knows? But that all being said, that's all speculation, and it's way, way off in the future, I'm sure. But this should be a very good match. Simply put. Now that I think about it, Sarah's almost a little bit kind of like the female CM Punk right now. It's weird, because, well, hear me out. It's not like she's going to leave with the title or anything like that, like Punk did, and then come back later. But I think she's been a heel for such a long time. She's been such a villain for so long that when she took on Icarus last month, who's also a villain, for those of you who don't know much about Chikara, the fans started cheering her, even though she's part of the BDK, who's this monstrously evil faction that's been running rampant for the last year and a half over Chikara. And it was such a surreal sight to behold on DVD, because I don't live in Philadelphia, and I really wish I did, because then I would be going to these shows. But anyway, it was so strange to see her being cheered, much the same that Punk was cheered over the last couple of weeks. So maybe she could be becoming a fan favorite. She is becoming a fan favorite, honestly, because they're pitting her against these super villainous guys like Claudio Castagnoli, like Icarus. So maybe she's on the verge of a face turn. We don't know. I certainly would think it would be very interesting and a nice twist to the story if she did. And I don't think it's going to happen just instantly. It might be one of those things that happens over a few months, but this might be one of those points where things start to change for her. So I'm looking forward to this match. I think Claudio's going to win, which is another reason why she might start splitting away from the BDK. And this could be the start of something very interesting. Well, there you have it. There's a quick look, or quick-ish look, at a Chikarasaurus Rex for this weekend. Excuse me. So I hope you've enjoyed this, because there are probably going to be more of these to come instead of the text posts, just because I figure talking for half an hour about this is a lot easier than writing for 2 hours just so you guys can read the same stuff that I was going to say, or it'd take the same amount of time to read as it would for me to just talk about this. And besides, I think it's more accessible to listen than to read. So again, I hope you've enjoyed this, the first ever Rantables Wrestling podcast, and I will be back soon, sometime, to talk about something. I don't know what. I'll probably talk about the resurgence of CM Punk and the storyline on Raw, which has completely captivated me, but that's something to talk about later. So again, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you all later.